Estrangement is the sophomore full-length album from German death rock band Rope Sect. And we could qualify that with several things. I think that post-punk is kind of one of their influences, the classic sort of dark wave, gothic rock, and that sort of idea kind of gets you there in terms of what this band is all about. But they have their own folkin touch to it. There's some metal influences. The main guy behind the band has his own black metal groups, and they've played in other groups. Otherwise, I call this a folkin death rock group, and one that has that sort of neo-folk malaise to it, a serious tone to it that's very severe, that deals with rejection of society and exclusion. I prefer the title here with Estrangement. Back in 2020, The Great Flood was one of my favorite records. It was up there in the top 100 for me, and I was a huge fan of this band, and I found that they've been extremely consistent start to finish with their discography. So high expectations for what this would be as a second full-length statement. And it comes, with a reasonable amount of time to develop it. They've had some interstitial releases that have sort of previewed what this would be all about. But we'll cut to a song here just to get a sense for the different sound, the different production sound, and the quality of the timbre of this record with a clip.
We held your breath and stayed away. We are the ghost, you hide the fears to fear inside your lives that you never even.
So the big thing to notice up front, if you're not familiar with Rope Sect, is in Mesher's vocal qualities. They're not exactly deadpan. They are tuneful. They're a little bit kind of a folk singer-songwriter feeling to the way that he constructs these often verbose melodies. But they've gotten more verbose over time, and this record is a little bit more of a storyteller in terms of how many words per minute they crank out. Otherwise, the songwriting is guitar-driven and driven by techniques which are centered around a sort of simple, almost a metallic approach to the guitar playing that is percussive in its use of palm muting and other techniques as such that bring us into maybe a different mode than you're used to hearing when somebody mentions death rock, post-punk, and whatnot. So this is a very tuneful record. It is a lot of 4 to 5 minute songs in a row that all hit in a very repetitive, almost a folk rock sense. The severity of the lyrics, what they have to say, and the tone of the vocalist really directs how dire things get. The song structures are fairly complex, but they are not outside of the realm of this subgenre. And really, what sells this album are, again, the trade-off between the guitar hooks and the vocalist himself, who's a big personality in a very deadpan sort of way, but not in the over-the-top sort of way you'd expect from a German like post-punk adjacent record. It's very different from a lot of the more, I would say, tactless approaches to post-punk revival and gothic rock of the last 20 years. So this is just very tightened up in its songwriting. It's effective in the hooks that it presents, and song after song we're getting a thread here that is decidedly different for the way that it presents itself, with more words per minute, as I'd said, but also a much more measured hand when it comes to cutting back to what they do best and only presenting that. We get less of the reverb on the vocals, less reverb overall on the production values. The bass guitar is much more audible and present in most of these pieces, and the guitars don't fully wash away the effect of the rhythm section in general. So we do get a much more clear and connective version of Rope Sect on this record, even though I don't think there are quite as many outright hits or just songs that just never turn off in my head as there were a couple of very strong pieces on the previous record. Now, overall, it is a war of attrition. Every song here is good. I wouldn't say the same thing was true of the last record. There were a couple of kind of annoying ones that were far too repetitive. That means this is a more memorable, straight to the point record. It's a little bit less repetitive. It's a little bit better sounding in terms of the overall dynamic, but it does lose a little bit of that underground severity, the reverb-soaked weirdness of that last record. So it's a trade-off I was willing to live with. I think it was quite a good record overall. It does get a high recommendation from me. I've been a fan of this band from the first time I heard them, and I definitely recommend, even if this is a little bit outside of the realm of metal, the severe depressive tone and the estranged, of course, emotional aspect of it should appeal to fans of any type of dark music, which is sincere and severe in its ideology and the way that it presents itself. Very much worth checking out. This releases tomorrow on May 17th. Go ahead and check that out when it comes out and read my review and see if your thoughts line up with mine.
The conscience may guide